Dracula's Daughter on 4K looks absolutely incredible. We're going to do a quick review, talk about how the Blu-ray and the 4K compare, and then just revisit my thoughts on this from watching it a couple years ago. So my wife was away horse riding, and so I decided to sneak and show this movie to the kids. And they were very quickly stuck to the screen, just very sympathetic to the actual Dracula's daughter character. And that's one of the things that I love about this movie, is that this woman does not want to be a vampire. She wants to be free of this curse, which is what also kind of endears me to the Wolfman, because he's kind of like a creepy womanizer kind of guy. But he just, especially in the later episodes, he just does not want to have this curse anymore. And so even though he's like the villain, it really endears me to them. They almost become like an anti-hero, to the point where at the end of this, spoiler alert, all right, you've been warned, spoiler alert, but my little 4-year-old was so crushed at the end when this happened. He was crushed, or she was crushed. And I said, "Why are you so sad? She was the bad guy." And she said, "But I loved the vampire." And I was like, "Oh, is it because she didn't want to be bad anymore?" And she's like, "Yeah." And so we talked about it, and about how she was trying to be good, but it just could not work, and so she had to go. So kind of going back to the beginning, just to some stuff that stood out to me. One thing that I always like to look for in old movies, actually any movies, is gun safety. And this guy gives this police guy a gun out of the drawer because he's watching over the 2 coffins. So he's got to see if, just in case they get up or whatever. But watch how he holds the gun here. Right there. Look at the gun. He's pointing it right at his buddy. All right. One thing that I want to do comparing the Blu-ray to the 4K is actually look at some of their faces and the film grain on their faces. So basically what I'm noticing between the two is that there's a lot more detail on the 4K, and the contrast between the blacks and the whites is a lot stronger, and it goes further. So it's just like a deeper, more lifelike image. So I think in this case, this upgrade, you could really say that it just makes the movie come alive. And as far as the grain on the faces goes, so this is now like a static image. So you can see all those tiny little black dots. So on the 4K, those are very plentiful, and they're just tingling, and they're moving. And, I'm standing super close to the TV right now. Normally I'm sitting back about 12 feet or so. So you don't really notice it, but what you do get is the immense amount of detail that was captured on the film. So on the Blu-ray, you still do see the film grain, but it's not like individual tiny dots like that. And so, not that the grain itself is the goal. Goodness, girl. All right, we got a loudly sleeping St. Bernard. Anyway, not that the film grain itself is the goal, but it being there is a sign that it hasn't been scrubbed out so that the detail remains. So while there is quite a lot of grain in this picture, it's always very tingly and healthy looking, as they say, showing that the image is actually intact, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So on the Blu-ray, instead of little dots, it's more like globby. But I honestly thought the Blu-ray of this looked really good when I first saw it. This scene here, though,
from far off the barking of a dog.
It's actually really beautiful. She's playing the piano, and she's trying to play happy, nice music because she thinks she's free from the curse from Dracula. But this guy's trying to spook her, and so the kids are they're on the edge of their seats because they really want to be on this lady's side, because they really, this actress is playing her in such a sincere way that she really doesn't want to have this curse anymore. So the kids are all siding with her, and so they're kind of hoping that she'll get over these temptations of eating people. But as she fails, it's tragic to these little kids' hearts, and to the viewer's heart in general, because she's quite sympathetic. She doesn't want to have this nightlife anymore. So I think this is such a perfect Halloween movie. You just have the spooky atmosphere, the victims, you have the villain who doesn't want to be the villain anymore. And this shot coming up right here when they're trying to hurry back to London so that she can go to bed before the sunshine gets her. Look at that. that is just pure art. Such a perfect spooky Halloween atmosphere, but it's also mild enough for the whole family. So it's such a amazing sequel to Dracula as well, because it just picks up right after where the first movie leaves off with a super interesting character. This is definitely my favorite of all the Dracula sequels. I also love showing the kids just like old-timey relationships, like tying bow ties and stuff.
You asked me, didn't you?
Come on, come on, come on.
But
You really
there's a
don't
line
want
here.
me. You and such a dither, I'm.
Okay, so he's on his way to go visit with this vampire lady to try and basically have like a psychological visit to see if he can help her, because she's like, I really want your help, right? And so she's helping tie his tie, which is he's being a little gruff and demanding, but she's giving it right back to him, which shows that he's not just like bossing her around and she's just like being subservient. She's helping because she wants to, and she even makes fun of him for asking, for being so frustrated with his tie. Anyway, I love the screenplay of this movie in just how much weight it gives everything, and it even has just a few little funny parts. But listen to this kind of like innocent double entendre, because he's going to see a vampire, and listen to what she says.
I don't know what you do without
Coming up
me.
here.
There.
Right here.
Good night, Doctor. Good hunting.
He's going to see a vampire, and she said, good hunting. I love that. Listen to this question she asks him.
Do you believe that the dead can influence the living?
Well, in what way?
So a few things. Look at this painting in the background. It is so awesome. But another thing about this sequel that I think is so cool, they have like the weight of the name of Dracula, and I mean the Count Dracula. He's mentioned constantly throughout this movie, and she's even talking about him now in trying to be free from the curse.
Mm-hmm. Well, go on.
Yeah, look at this. You
Someone
see that painting?
beyond the grave and fills me with horrible impulses.
How can I help you?
There's the painting right there.
Well, go on.
Anyway, it's just cool as they have this conversation about how she's just trying to get help from him. But I think it's such a good sequel to the first one, because the weight of the first one is just hanging over this one the entire time. And it's new characters doing new and interesting things. I mean, except for Van Helsing. But that first movie just still has such a presence in her life here as she's trying to seek help from him. And it kind of just adds to Dracula, the original Dracula's character as well. It just makes him like more powerful, because this is a total other movie about somebody else that he did his Dracula thing to and got like a little minion out of her. And you just see that how much she hates it. Now, as the man shows up to rescue his woman, you even get some of the classic sets. Look at this. He's got his gun out. So even though these two characters were bickering the entire time, and he's being so cranky the entire time, this situation where he basically rushes around the globe to rescue her just really shows that he actually really does love this lady. And maybe he didn't even realize it at first, but like, look at that. And he set off here to rescue her, and he has a gun, you know, and he doesn't know what he's going to do. He just knows that he's going to rush to save her. And this is when I asked my son, my 10-year-old son, what he thought of the movie, this is actually the part that he mentioned very first. And I actually really liked that. That made me happy with showing this movie to him. She tells him he has to remain there. He has to stay with the vampire in order to release her. That's the deal. The vampire decided, you know, at first she's like, I want to get out of this. But then she's like, nope, I want this guy to be with me forever, which actually made her assistant really mad. But the part that stood out to my son is the choice that he makes right now. So you can see that he really wants his assistant lady to wake up. And he thinks, he looks down, takes her hand, and he gets resolved, looks up at her. This is what he does.
All right.
He stands up like a man, like literally standing up like a man, facing his enemy, his challenge, his biggest most horrible, awful thing. He is willing to sacrifice himself for this lady that he loves. And that is what stood out to my son when I said, what did you, he's like, I liked it. I said, what'd you think? And I said, well, what did you like? And he said, I liked that this guy was willing to sacrifice himself for his friend. And I was like, heck yeah. So like, even though that we don't get her release from Dracula having died, we get this cathartic ending and this love and this sacrifice. Here you go.
Out there.
It's gonna wake her up.
Open your eyes.
Look at. Listen to that swoony music.
Oh, Jeffrey.
Oh, Jeffrey. All right, I love Dracula's Daughter from 1936, and the 4K is great. It just brings the story alive and just ensures that it's just gonna last forever. The Blu-ray did look really good. The 4K is just on another level of refinement. So if you are a fan of this movie, would definitely recommend this. And I love that this movie, like the villain, you know, you can sympathize. And then I just love these old monster movies and old horror movies. Many of them, the guy gets the girl at the end. And it's so cathartic. They defeat the bad guy. They end up together. And it is just such a good time. I feel like it's time well spent watching these. So anyway, this has been a review. Again, I've already reviewed this on my channel a couple of years ago. I can put the link for that. But and you'll have to watch it and compare it to my review now and let me know what you think. Anyway, so this has been part of my 31 Days of Horror or 31 Days of Halloween. So let me know what you think. And we'll see you on the next one. Let me know if you have any recommendations as well, because I liked this one. So thanks for watching.